Dr. Moyoso. So I'm the founder of Lifestyle Champions International Foundation, and this is what we do. We encourage people to make healthy choices every day. So we encourage people all around the world to make healthy choices every day. We're raising a group of people whom we call lifestyle champions who are passionate about making healthy choices every day. And we're so glad they have joined us for the first LCI webinar in the year 2024. For those of you that were with us last year, I'm sure we had some amazing times together and you were challenged to make healthy choices. I don't know what your experience was during the December period, right? December, New Year, you know, that's always a time when everybody almost goes haywire. You're like, wow, I have to enjoy myself. I have to settle down, you know, and enjoy some of these things that I've not taken during the course of the year. But one thing I've discovered is that you can enjoy healthy lifestyle choices every day. Who agrees with me? Let me have wave in the I know many more will be joining us. I will just call your
Have we lost her?
What's happening?
I think we might have lost her. Okay, or we lost you for a few minutes there.
Oh, so sorry. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. So I was just trying to introduce some of the names I can see in the chat box. I mentioned Agatha Asmal, Azizat Oyewande, Dr. Defila, Dr. Ifiasemota, Dr. Ineka, Ernest Asimegbe, yay, and Francisca Gold Okute. So Dr. Gold is actually one of our panelists for tonight. As Austin, okay, read me notes. Maybe you can change that to your name so we can recognize you appropriately. Then Reverend Rex. So glad to see you. Rosemary, my friend, good to see you. Old classmate, Titi Lokwemusa. And of course, I introduced Dr. Mojoyola earlier. So I'm so excited to welcome you to our first communication, our first conversation in LCI this year. And remember that we are raising warriors, a group of passionate individuals who want to make healthy choices every day. And we wanted to encourage everyone around you to do the same. But today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about the power of fasting. And we're going to make it real quick because we're going to finish within the hour. So if you have fasted at any time, let's just start with you as a person. If you have ever fasted, please, can you just put something in the chat box to say, yes, I have fasted? Just, you can wave your hand or say yes. I just want to know how many people have actually fasted before now. Okay, yes. I have. Thank you. Yes, so yes, I have. Okay, this is getting interesting. So I'm sure there's nobody here who hasn't fasted. Almost everyone here has fasted. Yes, I'm getting more yeses. Hey, that's amazing. Okay, so I have more questions to ask you, but I'm going to leave those questions to sometime during the panel discussion, and then you might also have some questions to ask. But we have 4 panelists, or 3 panelists. four, including myself. I'm actually the moderator, and I'm going to introduce each of them now. They're going to be answering some questions. Any questions you might have, they will answer as well. So we have this topic that we want to talk about, the power of fasting, how to unlock the benefits, the amazing benefits. Okay, can you help me to mute other participants? I'm hearing some voices in the background. Okay, thank you. So we have tonight with us Dr. Oluwadamilola Elemile, aka Dr. Dami. Please make some noise for Dr. Dami. Let me see your love in the chat box. Let's share some emojis to welcome her. She's a consultant family physician and board certified lifestyle medicine physician, and she's an associate of LCI, that's Lifestyle Champions International. So we've been doing a lot of amazing work together in LCI, and we're so glad to have her here. Please show some love. Then we also have Mrs. Orekolade. Does that name sound familiar? Some of us know her already. So Orekolade is a nutritionist, and she's a project manager at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. She's an associate of LCI, and she's also my twin sister. Are you surprised? Okay, so glad to have you here, Ore. And of course, you know my name is Ore. There's a difference, Ore and Ore. And then we also have Dr. Golds Ukute, and she is a family medicine registrar, a senior registrar actually in family medicine, and she's a lifestyle medicine enthusiast on her way, to becoming a board certified lifestyle medicine physician, right? So please show some love to Dr. Golds. So glad to have you here tonight. I'm so excited. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I might not have recognized you, but sometime during the course of the meeting or toward the end, I will still recognize other people who have joined. Truly thrilled to have you. So let's get going. I'm going to address the first set of questions to Mrs. Orekolade. I'm sure some of us were with us about 2 years ago when we had our BYC. Sometimes we have what we call a BYC session, that's a boost your confidence session, where you listen to someone who has made a change, a lifestyle change, the inspiring story of how they made that change, so that you can be motivated to make your own change and also be consistent with it. So I'm going to be asking her a few questions, and then if you have any questions too, just drop them in the chat box. I'm sure that we'll be able to respond to it. So fasting is a practice, a common practice among individuals in various parts of the world, whether in the East, the West, in Europe, in Africa. And I think it's especially common in Africa because we are a religious people. So we believe in spiritual practices, to enhance our well-being. But many people are aware of the spiritual benefits of fasting. But today we want to focus more on the health benefits, and how to unlock those benefits, and to really ask ourselves, am I doing this the right way? And how can I do it the right way to ensure that I unlock those benefits? So the first question I'm going to throw to Mrs. Orekolade is, are there different types of fasting? And if yes, can you just mention the one that you have practiced, and you would like you to share an idea, you want to also share your experience of how it's played a role in your weight management and the mechanisms through which it can affect your body weight and composition, because I know you have a lot of experience in that area. So what are the different types of fast that you've been involved in or that you know, and what are the influences on your weight and your health? So let me leave you with that. So over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ore, and thank you everyone for being here this evening. It's a real honor and privilege to have so many of our friends and colleagues joining with us to discuss this important topic of fasting, this January. January is a time when a lot of people say, okay, yes, I want to start the year with a 7-day fast, a 14-day fast, maybe even a whole month fast. So it's really a good time to talk about this topic. So as far as fasting goes, and I'm sure people would also share their own experiences and share a bit more insights, but I'll just start by saying that, of course, we know that there's a spiritual side of fasting when people fast for, depending on what they want to do, up until 12 o'clock, that sort of thing. When it comes to intermittent fasting, there are different kinds. So the most common one is a 16-8. And when I say 16-8, it means that you are fasting for 16 hours and you are eating, for 8 hours. Now, when I say eating for 8 hours, only you are eating for all of those 8 hours. It just means that 8-hour period is when you are eating, and then you are fasting for those 16 hours. And there are different kinds. Some people do, they start with 18-6, and 18-6 actually is the most common, actually, because all of us sleep for maybe 8 hours, during the night. So if you are doing 8-16, that's normal for everybody. Everybody sleeps and then wakes up and they eat. And then there's 10-14, where you sort of add a few more hours on. And then 12-12, you're fasting for 12 hours. Maybe you decide to eat around, 12 noon. And there's 14-10, and then 16-8, then 18-6, and then 24. If you're fasting for 20 hours, it means that you're only eating one meal. So you only decide to eat your evening meal. If you're fasting 16-8, it means that you're skipping your breakfast and just focusing on your lunch and dinner. Some other types of intermittent fasting are alternate day fasting, when you fast for the whole of one day, and then the following day you eat. The next day you fast again, so alternate day fasting. And some people also do the 15-2 method, where they fast, they might decide to do intermittent fasting on 5 days, or on 2 days, and then eat the remaining 5 days. So there are different methods or means of this intermittent fasting. Personally, I've tried different kinds. When I first of all started, now on my weight loss journey 3-4 years ago, I initially started with something that I thought was manageable. So I started with 16-8, and then after some time I thought, okay, let me see if I can, skip my dinner sometimes. But oftentimes I decided to just skip my breakfast and just, eat my lunch and dinner. Now, the important thing about fasting is, at least from my own experience, and a lot of people, they'll say, oh, this has not worked for me, and that's because during the non-fasting period, people, they tend to just, overeat and just eat all they can. They said, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this time when I'm not fasting, and just piling everything I can. And that's not the intention or the thinking behind intermittent fasting. It should be that within that non-fasting period, you are still eating in a responsible way. You are eating your fruits, your vegetables. You are eating a balanced diet packed with vegetables, with protein. You are being responsible in your fasting, and not just piling a bow and amala and everything, just to say, okay, until the next fasting starts. Some people watching the time and be saying, okay, my fasting starts at 6 p.m. Before 6 p.m. reaches, let me just pile in all the calories. If you are doing that, then you're not getting the benefits from it, because the thing about fasting that I found out is, when you talk about the benefits of fasting, about weight loss, it's really through calorie reduction. It's not as if there is one magic formula behind it. It is mainly through calorie reduction. So if you didn't eat your breakfast and you then eat your lunch and dinner as normal, it means that the calories that you'd have spent, that you'd have eaten within your breakfast period, it means that you have reduced that, and that means that ultimately you have a calorie deficit. But if you are eating the food that you are eating during breakfast, if you are eating it for lunch as well, then you're not getting the benefits from that. So in my own experience, I found out that once I set my timer, I decide, okay, by 6 p.m., I'm not eating anymore. Then it just means that all the snacking that would have happened after 6 p.m., all the going to the fridge, to pick one thing or the other, going to the cupboard to pick one snack or the other, that then limits, all that calorie intake until the next day, midday, when I take another meal. And so that food that I'm taking during that day, you have saved on those calories, and that then leads to weight loss. And so at the same time, according to research, fasting also helps in boosting our metabolism. It also helps with blood sugar control. I'm sure the doctors can talk a bit more about that by reducing our insulin resistance. Personally, I haven't struggled with high blood sugar, but the main purpose for which I started intermittent fasting was to reduce, was for me for weight control. And that really helped me, because I knew that by the time I stopped eating at this time, then that effectively takes out, the calories that have been consumed during that period. I also used an app, and that others might find that beneficial as well. It was called an app called Fast-tastic. And what that does is that it helps you to set the timing for when you are fasting and when you are not. And it sets you reminders. For example, your fasting period starts in 1 hour, and you can be aware. And then it can also help you to track how long you have fasted for. So those are a few things. I don't want to talk too much, because I know other people will say things as well. A few things of practical things of what I've found very helpful in my own fasting journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ore, for sharing those thoughts. So you talked about the 16/8 hours, alternate day fasting, 15-day methods, a lot of methods. So I'm going to go on to Dr. Dami now. Dr. Dami, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm here.
Okay. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's always a pleasure to have you. I know you've had some experience in the area of fasting. So I was just wondering, do you want to add anything to what Ore has said? She talked about the types of fasting and talked about the fact that we should eat in a responsible way, and that the benefits usually come through calorie reduction. And I'm still going to ask her to tell us about how much she lost, over that time period, over that time frame, and the kind of meals that she ate, because she kind of crucified Eba and Amala, and I'm sure some people are not very happy about that. So we want to know whether we can take things like Eba and Amala during our fast. So is there any other kind of fast? And what else would you add to what she has said about the benefits of fasting and how we can affect our body weight, especially for those who want to lose weight?
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. Thank you, Dr. Ore, for this platform. I appreciate you. Mrs. Ore Kolade has said so much about fasting. I'd just like to chip in a few things. When we talk about fasting is a time when there's food restriction, and not just food, anything that is going to give calorie. And we must understand that it's not only carbohydrates that, when we eat, at the end of the day, we derive calories that will now give us energy to work whenever we eat food. So invariably, when we fast, that automatically means that we're reducing the caloric intake during the fasting period. So chipping in on the different types of, an emphasis on in that point is that it's not just about solid foods alone, whether solid or liquid substance that can give calories should be restricted during fasting periods. I hope that is well noted. Also, people, there are short-term fasting, there are long-term fasting. She has said so much about intermittent fasting and the different types, but fasting can go for a short period of time, usually less than 8 days. And then it can also go for a long period, long-term fasting, when it's more than 8 days. The implication of that, I'm sure we're going to discuss later in this discussion. When we eat food, as I said earlier, whatever we eat, at the end of the day, the carbohydrates, the protein, the fats, and all that will generate calories. And the substrate that the body uses to bring about calories, glucose mainly. And when you get glucose from your carbohydrates, from mainly carbohydrates, the body uses what it needs at that point in time, and then the rest is stored in the liver as glycogen. So when during a fasting state, that means that the amount of glucose required for the body to generate energy is not there, and then it relies on the glycogen stored in the liver to produce glucose that will now be used to generate the energy that the body needs. After a 24-hour period, the glycogen store in the liver is depleted, and then the body tries to rely on other sources, or looks for other things that it can use to generate energy. And then that's when it starts to break down the fat in the adipose tissue, and then you generate ketones. I don't want to go into all those things. So when you fast and you're able to restrict your calorie intake, the body is going to look for another way of generating energy, and it goes to the fat cells, and it starts to break down the fat cell. And in the process of breaking down the fat cell, that's when weight loss starts. You begin to lose weight. And in the process of losing weight, you notice that someone who has been having issues with insulin insensitivity, actually the adipocytes are the primary cause of, they generate things that cause insulin resistance. So when you're able to reduce the amount of fat, then you lose weight, and then insulin sensitivity is better. The sugar level, the sugar level in the blood is reduced. The insulin level in the blood is also reduced. All these things I have mentioned have, like, it's a positive feedback loop, that once you're able to lose weight, the sugar, the fat level, your fat reduces, your insulin sensitivity is better, sugar level is better. And that's why fasting is been shown that in type 2 diabetes, fasting is a great way of improving insulin sensitivity in people with type 2 diabetes, people with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and other causes of things that can cause insulin insensitivity. So in a nutshell, the way fasting does is through caloric restriction and the body looking for alternative source of energy, breaking down fat cells, weight loss, insulin sensitivity, and then the positive loop continues. Thank you.
Amazing. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that physiological perspective on it. I know that the fat cells are a source of concern to a lot of people, and many of us happen to be within the middle age of our lives. And the interesting thing is that during middle age, we tend to accumulate fat around the middle, or the middle aspect of our body, the waist. Some people get an extra tire and all of that. And their eating habits might not really have changed from what they were eating when they were much younger, but yet that extra tire comes up, and a lot of people express concern. So it's good to understand the physiological basis. And of course, we know that we can reverse the effects of type 2 diabetes when we fast. So I love that part about insulin sensitivity. A lot of people need to learn that we can actually improve our insulin sensitivity, when we engage in fasting the right way. So before you go, Dr. Dami, you've already mentioned the fact that it's beneficial in certain diseases, but are there some times you can go way off the handle, and could it lead to some unwanted or adverse effects, when we fast?
Okay.
Are there some cautions that we need to put in place to ensure that we don't get adverse effects, from fasting?
Okay, so we've already established that fasting the right way is beneficial. There's no doubt about that. And fasting causes stress, is a form of stress to the body. You temporarily cause stress to the cells during the period of fasting. And that for that short period of fasting, the body tries to adapt to the fast. So it builds up adaptive mechanism for it to overcome that challenge at that particular time. But if that fasting goes way too long, then it's going to be counterproductive. I can't begin to go into the pathway of the things that are generated, ketones and all that. So if you fast for too long, ketones are very high, and the effect of ketones in the system isn't good. The mental clarity that appropriate fasting should give, it's now is going to be reversed. You get tired, you get the brain isn't sharp. Some people even, they are lethargic, things like that. And for people, because you are not eating, if you are not eating for a prolonged period of time, then there's the issue of acid peptic disease, things like that. So if it's not done properly, and also if there's no emphasis on calorie restriction, if you're still eating the amount of calorie that you would have taken if you didn't fast, then you probably, so we said that breakfast is the most important meal in the day. But now we're saying, okay, the 16-8 fast, you are skipping breakfast. And you are probably eating lunch and dinner. So if you pack the food of breakfast, lunch, and dinner when you are eating dinner, what will happen? Of course, the metabolism is slower during at night. So you're going to store all the calories as fats, and which is going to be counterproductive to what you wanted in the first place. So if it's not done properly, if you still take so high calorie during your non-fasting period, you're going to add weight, which is not what is wanted.
Please, can I just say something? I actually noticed that some people put on weight when they're fasting, especially when they are long fasts, those 40-day fasts. And I had to actually ask those people that, I know you have been fasting, you attend this particular denomination, even someone very close to me that I see regularly had been on a fast. But one thing I now realize is that people, they won't eat throughout the day. They will now come home around 7 or 8 and now have their meal. And so it boils down to the same thing, what you've said. You eat that meal as if, well, I'm not eating all day, so let me just give my body the nutrition that it has missed. And now the timing is now totally wrong. And so people go to bed on that full stomach, and of course we store it as fat. Just to chip that in, for those of us who are fasting right now. And I think before we leave, we need to talk about how to break our fast. What exactly should we break our fast with? Whether it's a religious fast or whether it's an intermittent fast, we need to talk about that.
Okay, so am I supposed to go ahead?
Okay, I kind of interrupted you. I don't know whether you have finished.
Oh, okay. Yes, I just wanted to add to what you said. You find out, I realized that some people they're fasting and they drink things like fruit juice intermittently. You see someone is fasting and he or she says, oh, okay, because I want energy all through the day, and they take a pack of fruit juice and they are drinking that, or soft drink. and the purpose of that fast is lost. If we are taking, because the fruit juice is a concentrate of glucose, it's going to just give you plenty of glucose. In your insulin will be released, plenty of sugar is released to the bloodstream. Insulin response also is high, and then that is going to be counterproductive. Also, prolonged fast, for people that engage in prolonged fast, stress hormone, I said that fasting is a form of stress to the cells. So stress, counter regulatory hormones are going to be released that are that help to I don't want to use a big word now, that can help glucose neogenesis. So things like your glucagon, things like adrenaline, all the cortisol, especially because of chronic stress. So prolonged fasting is not so good for the body. Thank you.
We might not be able to delve so much into that because we know that there are some people, maybe because of their spirit, maybe spiritual leaders, because of their positions and all. Someone said today that he for 5 years, maybe every day for 5 years, you know. Of course, but the type of fast also differs. I want to believe that there was a time of the day that he broke his fast, and not that he starved, you know, throughout that time. Okay, so let me just ask Ore Kolade, because I know she has another meeting very soon, and from Ore I'll go to Dr. Gold. So I just want you to share with us your personal success story, you know, when it has to do with intermittent fasting. You know, how did you know that it was a success? You know, what were the changes that you saw in yourself? You know, how did you feel afterwards, both mentally, physically? Please do share that with us.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I have to say that right now, I did my intermittent fasting for a period of about a year. Okay, so I'm not consistently doing intermittent fasting now. I do it once in a while, but not consistently. But back then, when I decided that, okay, I was on my weight loss journey, then I said, okay, I wanted to incorporate intermittent fasting into my weight loss journey. First of all, I got this app, like I mentioned earlier, it's called the fast-tastic app. And it just helped me to have something that I could be accountable, in the sense that I knew there was a timer, a start and stop timer. And I knew I could monitor, you know, how I was fasting. And then also coming back to that issue of calorie intake, you know, so I already knew that there's some things I needed to do alongside. Before I started fasting, I was already exercising. Okay, so a lot of this also took place over the COVID period as well. I was already exercising regularly. My friend Rosemary is here. She shared a link to some exercises that I could do online, you know, so there was this lady, so I was already doing that regularly. And this was just, you know, to add on top of it. So I already had the exercise bit covered, and I felt that I was not eating, and I felt that, well, I needed to do more with my eating as well. And so I thought, okay, this will then help me. And so I decided that, okay, first of all, I will skip my breakfast. But then I was eating my lunch and my dinner, it had to be, you know, looking at sort of what I was eating was important. So ensuring I had a lot of protein in there, a lot of vegetables, and also looking at the portion control as well, because we talked about that. If you're packing in everything that you should have eaten for breakfast into your lunch and dinner, then you are negating the effect. So controlling what portions I ate for both, you know, my lunch and dinner were really important, and also limiting any sort of, you know, sugary drinks like juice. I mean, there are things that are being, people promote as being, oh, it's healthy, just plenty of drinks and smoothies, and but the truth is that a lot of these things, you know, especially when they are blended, they contain a lot of sugar. And so I tried to eliminate that as much as possible and eat whole fruits, you know, that have, you know, digestive fiber. And so, and over time, you know, once I started that, and of course, after 6 p.m., usually, when it's, after I've eaten dinner, I'm known for just going to the kitchen, looking for one snack here and there. Maybe there's one biscuit there, one thing there, just munching and watching TV or whatever it is. But I just decided, okay, at 6 p.m., brush my teeth, nothing is entering my mouth again, And so that was sort of the habit that I built up over time. And over time, I then saw that, okay, in addition to also my exercising, my weight came steadily down. When I first started, my weight loss journey, I think, I lost between 10 and 12 kg, over that period of time. Of course, the thing is that if you're not consistent with these things, and we're not saying that there are things that you cannot do forever anyway, even with when you're dieting, you have to have a period of time when you're dieting, and then you now have to have a period of time when you're trying to sustain that weight loss. Okay, so it might be having a low calorie diet for some time or intermittent fasting, but ultimately that cannot continue. You can't fast all through your life. There has to come a period in time when you are doing weight maintenance. And that then means looking at what works for you. Still looking at your calorie, So I still eat my breakfast now, but again, I'm very careful about those portions. So I lost all that weight. I have to say, I've gained some of it back, which, will happen. But at the same time, I've never gone back to the levels at which I was before because, I've still kept on doing my exercises, and doing my watching my portions and what I eat. And so, yes, I have to say that I got quite a lot of success out of it, but again, my journey has not ended, I'm still a work in progress.
Amazing, amazing. Yes, our journey of lifestyle change is actually not it's not I wanted to say it's a marathon, as in you have to keep running throughout your life.
Not a sprint,
more or less.
Yes.
It's not a
just
sprint.
One more
yes.
thing I'm trying to say is that a lot of people, because I also joined a group as well, it's also good to join groups where people also comment, you can sort of encourage each other, like a support group, but talking about their experiences. And one thing is that you might not notice the change immediately, because I can see a question about how soon did you notice the change? Everything, if after 1 week, I must have lost 1 kg, it's not working. This is not, you have to, actually it has to be a grad. If you drop 2 kg or 1 kg in a week, then that's a problem. You cannot sustain that realistically. So it has to be done in a way that is sustainable. So if you are starting, like I started out with 16.8, and you find, okay, my body is adjusting to that over time. And I think, this is something that works for me. Again, different things work for different people. I think, okay, I can then, increase that a bit more. But you also have to seek for medical advice where appropriate. There are people that really shouldn't be fasting. If you are diabetic, I've heard of stories of people that say, oh, they are diabetic, but they still want to fast. That really is not helpful. I mean, I don't think any doctor would recommend that someone who is diabetic should be fasting anyway. So you have to you have to seek for medical advice, where needed as well.
Well, thanks so much, Ore. And if you have any particular question for her, please just drop it in the chat box. She might not be able to speak after now because she's going to join another meeting, but I'm sure she would type in a response. So thank you for sharing your success story. I know about that story. And it's always inspiring. All right, so we have Dr. Golds with us. So glad to have you here with us, Dr. Golds. Thank you for coming. Dr. Golds is my mentee, and I'm very proud of what she's doing in her career. And I know that she has some experience in this area of intermittent fasting. So she's going to share her experience with us. So I have this question for you. What are the considerations that individuals should take into account when deciding to approach a fast? That's one. And then how can we now integrate fasting into one's lifestyle? And are there tips for beginners to ensure a safe and effective experience? And then before we go, you tell us about the experience that you had and how it worked for you. So over to you, Dr. Gold. You're muted. You're muted. Okay. Can you speak now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now. Yes.
All right, great. So let me do it with my earpiece then. All right, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here. All right. So you said I should talk about how individuals can choose a sustainable fasting method, right? Am I correct, ma'am? Okay, so a lot has been said about fasting, and it's important for, I would say, for everybody, when you want to start, please start small. Okay, people say, okay, intermittent fasting, there are a whole lot of benefits attached to it, and you want to jump into it, fine and good. But then you have to look before you leap, right? Consider yourself. We've talked about ensuring that your health is optimal, right? If you're type 1 diabetic, you can't fast. If you're less than 18 years old, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, it's not something you want to do. So when you want to start, you have to start small. Mrs. Kolade had mentioned, and even Dr. Dami had mentioned the timing. So 16/8, 12/12, just pick out something. And it's easier to fast over the night. We all do that. So you can decide, okay, I want to start fasting at 7 p.m. All right, so 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. If you take your last meal at that time to 7 a.m., that's already 12 hours. Sorry? Okay, so that's already 12 hours and you've already done something. So you're already starting. Okay, so with time, you can kick in and add in more hours. And then it's also important to understand your schedule for the day. How physically active are you during the day? It's important when it comes to fasting. You can't have a job that is so demanding and exerting, and then you want to fast 24 or 18/6, right? So you're staying away from food for that long. It might not be very advisable. That's if you're taking it for extended periods. Because during the fasting, it's important to keep your energy level at a particular point, right? So we don't get dizzy or develop some symptoms such as a headache. So important things to do when you're fasting, first of all, stay hydrated. Taking water during your fast, water will not break your fast. It's a 0-calorie drink, right? So take water during your fast. It will help prevent all the symptoms of headache, dizziness. It will help prevent dehydration. Then avoid thinking about food. I think Mrs. Kolade mentioned that you think, this time is coming, and then you're thinking about the food. You're not helping yourself, because at that point, you're losing track of what you're supposed to do. So try to add in some distractions into your day. If you need to catch up on some paperwork, catch up on the paperwork. If you need to relax and watch a movie, right? So just something to distract yourself while you're doing the intermittent fasting. Then try to pick out periods of the day to relax. It's important to rest, right? Then make every calorie count. We've talked a lot about calorie intake. Dr. Dami mentioned when you want to break your fast and then you decide that breakfast, lunch, and dinner at once, you just pack it, and then you're now taking 3,000 calories in one meal. The fasting is in vain, right? So make every calorie count. Eat foods that are rich in fiber. When you're taking fruits, take fruits that are water-based, things like grapes, melons, watermelons. So they are water-based, they are lighter fruits, right? And they do help during fasting. Then what else? How can you incorporate it into your day? I mentioned starting small, so we can decide to do, when Ms. Kolade was talking about the different types of fasting, she mentioned the alternate day fast. So you can decide to just start that. So maybe I'm doing this now, let me fast today, just reduce my calories for today, and then I'll eat some low calorie foods the next day. Then I'll fast for the next day, stuff like that. So alternate day fasting, we can decide to fast once a week, twice a week. So with time, we're able to pick up intermittent fasting as a habit. But like we said, it's not something that should be done for prolonged periods of time, right? So pick out, for me, I have pockets in the year when I do intermittent fasting, right, for a certain period. And it's been an amazing journey.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Golds. Amazing. Thank you so much. Those are wonderful tips that every one of us can run with. And I think I like that bit about the fact that water is a 0-calorie drink, and that we need to stay hydrated during the period of our fast. And, incidentally, this period where people are fasting, from January up to maybe March, I know some people are going to do 40 days, some people will do 50, some people will do 60. It's the beginning of the year is actually very dry. The weather is dusty. Maybe I'm not sure whether we have Hamatan here, in Nigeria. Of course, other parts of the world where Mrs. Kolade is, they are battling winter, so they might even drink less water, but they still need to stay hydrated. So it's very, very important. And I like that part also about trying to distract yourself so that you're not thinking about food. That's not the time when you watch a lot of TV and you watch all those adverts, where they're showing, something that looks so nice and yummy. Of course, your sensory organs are going to be stimulated with sight, sound, and send a message to your gastric enzymes. They'll begin to produce more enzymes, and you start getting all those sounds telling you that you need food. So yes, for people who are doing it for a spiritual reason, you want to spend more time reflecting, meditating, praying, maybe reaching out to people who are in need, maybe ministering to the sick, the needy, the poor, and all of that. So fast. Okay. So I'm going to go on again to okay.
Just one more tip. Eat slowly. That's very important. When we rush our meals, we have the tendency to overeat, right? And because we are doing portion control as we are eating, take the food slowly, chew the food. It takes about 20 minutes for our brain to give a signal, right, to our body that, see, you're satisfied, it's time to stop eating. So that's small portion of food that we have to eat within that period. Eat slowly, make every spoon count. So chew it and crunch it up before you swallow. Right? That would also help in feeling fuller and not having to feel so hungry after breaking the fast. Thank you.
Well, thank you for adding that bit to it. Yes, that's very important, the signaling between the brain and the stomach. Okay, so let me go back to Dr. Dami. So let me look at the questions I lined for Dr. Dami. Dr. Dami, a lot of people are fasting right now. How can we circumvent, some of the limitations that people have? Mrs. Kolade said something now that diabetics shouldn't fast. And then Dr. Gold said, okay, type 1 diabetics shouldn't fast. Of course, meaning that type 2 diabetics possibly can fast. So how do we circumvent that limitation? Because some people, when I encounter them, they feel bad that, oh, if you say I can't fast, how about, they see it as a spiritual obligation, and, they don't know what their faith what would happen to their faith. They might feel guilty, oh, I can't fast because of this, or because I have an ulcer. So what are the things that such people need to do, in order to be able to benefit from a fast? And there was something that I can't remember who said it, maybe that we have fasted all night already, maybe we can extend it up to a certain time. You know, how do we marry it with our medication? The fact that some people will go into Lent fast, or they'll go into Ramadan fast, and they'll have to take their medication because they're diabetic. So how do we circumvent all of that?
Thank you very much, Ma. For people with type 1 diabetes, just like Dr. Golds said, they shouldn't engage in more than a 12-hour fast. Although we say don't fast, but that period of, let's say you take your dinner at 7 p.m. till eating your breakfast at 12 a.m. At 7 a.m. in the morning, is a 12-hour, it's already a 12-hour fast period. So that's the only thing they should engage in, and that's because of the pathophysiology of type 1 diabetes and the fact that they need insulin. So we don't encourage them to do more than, we encourage them to eat their breakfast, lunch and dinner as appropriate because of the insulin regimen. So for them, they'll be guilty about not fasting. They can do other activities involved, like giving to the poor, other things that don't involve fasting for them. She also mentioned some other people that should not engage in fasting. But with people with type 2 diabetes who are not on insulin, because some of them can also be on insulin, their drugs can actually be adjusted to suit the fasting or the non-fasting period. So for someone who has type 2 diabetes and during Ramadan, I know they eat during in the morning, very early in the morning. I can't remember the name they call it now, and then they eat later in the evening. So you can make for someone that is on taking his or her drugs twice a day, you can make it in such a way that the drugs can be adjusted to the non-fasting periods. That's the pre-dawn meal and yes. So you can adjust their medication, especially when they are on OGLAS, oral glucose lowering agents. You can see your physician and they can help you to adjust your medications to fit into the non-fasting period. And you can then engage in your fast like someone who is not living with type 2 diabetes would. So that is doable. So for other people, let's say for people with acid peptic disease, who would complain about epigastric pain when they don't eat and all that, there are also things that can be done. Dr. Gold also mentioned the fact that the things that you eat during the non-fasting period matters. The time that you eat matters. When you sleep matters for people with acid peptic disease or reflux, for example. So you want to eat fruits that are not so acidic, alkaline-based fruit, water-based fruits, like the examples she already gave. You want to ensure that the non-fasting period is like 3 to 4 hours away from your sleep time. So such things are very important. You want to ensure that you eat a meal that is high in fiber. So doing those things will help to also alleviate the symptom of acid peptic disease. And if you have developed symptoms, you can also take your antacid, especially at night, because it helps to prevent the reflux and then the acid secretion at that time. So that's for people with acid peptic disease. I think have I answered the question?
Yes, fantastic. You have. And I can see some people making comments already. Somebody said that fasting disrupts my digestive system. So that's why at the beginning, I think it was Dr. Dami that said that we need to understand. Okay, no, okay, Dr. Golds said you need to understand your schedule during the day and plan. So yes, everybody fasts one way or the other. So if you want to extend it a little bit, you need to understand your schedule, and you need to understand how you can incorporate it and the benefit of what you are doing. So are you doing it for a spiritual benefit, or is it for a health benefit? Are you trying to lose weight? So if fasting disrupts your system, then I want to look at how you can bring in something else that would help you to keep weight loss rather than fasting, instead of just saying that I must fast. It's not mandatory for everyone to fast to be able to achieve that goal of weight loss or control your blood sugar and all of that. So
sorry, Ma. I just wanted to say that listen to your body. Okay. Listen to what your body is telling you. Most times your body will tell you what you need to do, the things that are deficient. So just listen to your body. The fact that something is good for one person doesn't mean it's good for all. And I saw one question there saying that lifestyle is more sustainable. Yes, lifestyle is more sustainable in terms of the diet, the quality of what you are eating, the time, the quantity, and portion control. That's lifestyle. But sometimes the body needs some shaking, some acute stressor that will just kickstart something, or that like we call it intensive therapeutic lifestyle change. And intermittent fasting can tilt you into that short-term stress, so to say, that can kickstart a positive lifestyle change for an individual.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that bit. Before we round up, we wanted to put in questions in the chat box. Everyone, if you have any specific question, I'm going to ask Dr. Dami and Dr. Gold to each share their success stories, when it comes to fasting. Whatever fasting method you employed, how it benefited you or benefited a group of people you supervised, if you did that, or it happened to be yourself. So please, let me start with Dr. Gold, maybe just in about 1 to 2 minutes, and then Dr. Dami takes over.
Thank you, Ma. Yeah, so my weight loss journey officially started October 2022, when I hit my highest, and I noticed that I was struggling with being active, and I was always tired. I couldn't play with my children when I get back from work. So I decided to start on, and Dr. Makinde was quite pivotal in that. Whenever I see her, I'm like, I'm going to do this. So that period I started, and so I started with exercises. And at the point I was like, okay, I think I can add, I came across intermittent fasting, and it did make sense to me. So after going through the pros and cons, I went into it. So I started small. I think I started with 12, which was quite easy because for me, one thing about fasting is that it takes willpower, right? You have to be committed. It takes willpower. It takes everything that you have to do that fast, especially when you're seeing all the things you like to eat around you. So I had to drop, I did an analysis of things I ate and why I'd gotten to the point where I'd gotten to. And after that, I jumped into it alongside the exercise. And after a while, I increased to 18.6. And then I went to 24 for a period. So that's the way you get to what is called the warrior diet. At that point, it's like one meal a day kind of thing, and it's a small portion of food. And I did that for quite a while. And I think I did intermittent fasting for a few weeks. So within a period of 2 months, I lost about 10 kg, if I'm correct. Yes, about 10 kg or 11 kg. Right. So but within that period, and now I've been able to shed off like 15 kg. I added a few kilos back, and I've been able to drop it, right, when I kicked off again. So it's been an amazing thing knowing that there's something I can always fall back on, right? And it's a lifestyle for me at the moment. Right? Like I said, I have pockets of periods in the year. It's not just for the health benefits, also for the spiritual aspect to it. So one thing you can do when you're fasting, instead of just going intermittent fasting for the health benefit, also add the spiritual aspect to it. It could also serve as a driving force, right, to get to your goal. Thank you. Thank you, Ma.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Dr. Gold. Okay, so I'm going to Dr. Dami now to just share your success story, something personal, something you've encountered with someone else that you supervised. How did it go?
Well, it's something personal. For a while now, I'd made up my mind that my last meal for the day would be 6 p.m. And so for a long time now, I've been taking, let's say 2-3 years, although I grew up eating that way, but at some point in medical school and things like that, I stopped. I could eat at any time, and I noticed that my menstruation became irregular. At some point, they were even calling polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I had several investigations done. That was when I was in medical school. At some point, I started noticing hair even growing. So of course, that's an evidence of insulin insensitivity. And when I got married, I also had some delay. I had a delay because, of course, my menses was irregular. But at the point when I started taking my dinner at my last meal at 6 p.m. and well, I take breakfast at around 10 a.m. in the morning. If that's about that's 18:06, right? So I've noticed that my menstruation that wouldn't even be regular before now is more regular now in the last 2-3 years than it used to be. And that's because I've lost weight. Of course, I've lost weight. Even when I got pregnant, with my last child that I gained weight, I was able to calm down. I was able to lose the weight, and my menses is even more regular now. That I tell myself now that I don't need this, now that I don't need this menses to be regular. Now is the time that it's regular. So I want to believe that I've been able to improve my insulin sensitivity. The pathway was my weight loss and insulin sensitivity. And even though they could not clinch the diagnosis of polycystic ovarian syndrome at that time, I believe I probably had some insulin insensitivity at that point in time, which I think I have overcome right now.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for being personal with us and sharing that. PCOS is something that some people are battling with. And in fact, there's a question here from Adedo Ajilabi that says, thank you, our panelists. Please, is there any such thing as hormonal weight gain? Like in those with PCOS or menopause, would intermittent fasting help? Do you want to say anything to that?
Yes, we've already said that the principle of intermittent fasting is caloric restriction. And when the body senses that there's inadequate calorie, when it happens for a short period of time, it looks at other sources of calories. And so during that period that you are not eating, your glucose level reduces, your insulin level reduces, which allows for, and you know, the insulin itself allows for weight gain. When there's high levels of insulin flowing in the blood stream, it causes weight gain. So that in itself, when there's hyperinsulinemia, and that's the pathway for PCOS and other things that we see. So during the fasting period, you decrease your glucose level because there are no triggers for the release of insulin from the pancreas. So you are able to sustain a steady state of insulin in your bloodstream, which would ultimately affect. And then because there's a sustained level, the body now needs to adjust itself to adapt to a lower level of insulin for it to respond. And so that's how the insulin sensitivity insensitivity is alleviated through fasting. And
Wow,
of course,
amazing.
weight loss.
Yes. So thank you so much for shedding light on that. In addition to that, during menopause, the female hormones begin to dwindle. You know, the brain doesn't produce as much of those female hormones. And what happens is that estrogen and progesterone, they play a significant role in redistributing fats, you know, in the female, so that you don't have so much fat, you know, around your middle. So a lot of women experience a lot of weight gain, you know, after menopause, because that redistribution doesn't happen anymore because the female hormones are dropping. So instead of you to have a proper redistribution of weight for you to still be able to maintain that your pear shape, you find people having more of the apple shape and they gain weight around the middle. So yes, those are the hormonal consequences of menopause. But if you've taken note of all that has been talked about tonight, you know, when you do your intermittent fasting and you're able to exercise, you know, that discipline about reducing your calories, eating whole foods, you know, avoiding things that will enter your bloodstream at very quick rates that will make insulin to flood your system suddenly. If you're able to control all of that, then definitely it will work for you and help you to lose weight and lose some of that belly fat, especially if your intermittent fasting deals with the night time. You know, you're not eating too late at a time when your body is not going to make use of those calories. So yes, it will work for you if you're having an hormonal issue. There's a question there also about steroids. Would intermittent fasting help someone on steroids to lose weight, seeing that weight loss is one of the side effects of steroids? Well, is weight loss a side effect of steroids? I would say it's the other way around.
Weight gain.
Weight gain.
Weight gain. Yeah, she wrote weight gain after that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So weight gain is one of the effects, you know, of steroid use. Sometimes steroids are prescribed, you know, by your doctor. You know, I had a very close friend of ours, also a medical practitioner, who shared her experience about how she had to be placed on steroids. But because of that, she made very, very strategic changes, you know, in her diet, and she was exercising as well, and she reduced, you know, her caloric intake. So all of that helped her, and she was able to lose weight, and she was able to maintain her blood glucose levels, because she was already turning towards glucose intolerance and pre-diabetes. So, but despite the fact that she was on that steroid, she was able to make those changes and achieve her goal. So yes, it is possible. We're about to round off now. I don't know if we have any other questions. Have we answered all the questions? Yes, there's one more question in the chat box about the types of food to eat when breaking our fast. Dr. Golds, can you help us with that? And then Dr. Dami can add some light to it as well.
So the type of foods to eat when breaking the fast. So it's important not to rush into a meal, whether you're fasting or not. So like we said, you can take water during the fast. It's very important. So seeing that you're going to break your fast at a particular time, so a few hours before, ensure you're taking some water, get your stomach ready, get your system pumped. Then you can start with, I mentioned fruits that are rich in water, like grapes, or what we have easily to find is melons. So watermelons, you can start with something light. You get to just a few fruits, and then go into some rich or high fiber diet, right? And once again, whatever you have to eat slowly. So whatever it is that you have to eat when you're breaking your fast, if you're taking it slowly, it wouldn't be so much work for your system to adjust to, right? During breaking your fast. Try not to eat heavy meals. So a lot of people, most people still deal with bread. So you're breaking your fast and the first thing you're dashing into is a loaf of bread. Try something easier, right? That is easy for your system. Try taking vegetables, things we can find in our environment, things like spinach, ugu, even carrots. You just steam them a little bit so they're a bit soft for your teeth to break, except you like them really crunchy. Then things like popcorn, they are filling, yet they are really light in calories. So that's popcorn without sugar, just plain popcorn, right? That is quite helpful as well when breaking your fast. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, Mom.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Dami, do you want to add anything to that?
Okay, yes, thank you, Dr. Gold. So I would say the quality of what and portion is very important. Eat your fruits first. Big fruits are better absorbed, the nutrients are better absorbed on an empty stomach. So take the advantage of your fasting. So eat fruits first. And she has mentioned that we should eat alkaline or water-based fruit. But don't also forget that the glycemic I don't want to use big words, the amount of calorie that you can, don't forget that fruits are also food. So don't say, oh, okay, because I'm taking food, that one is not part of food, because you are going to get calories from fruits, but they are good calories. They are not empty calories. Avoid, and so what I'm trying to say, even when you are eating your fruits at that time, it should be part of the calorie. Have it at the back of your mind that it's part of the calorie that you're going to get. Avoid soft drinks also, because you're going to get empty calories from them. Eat all fruits. Don't take don't take them blended as much as you can. Eat them all. Avoid fatty meals, especially for those who have reflux, because the digestion is or fatty meals, they are slower. So it may go well into your sleeping time, and then it may cause you reflux. Same reason why you should avoid things like whole milk. I know people say that drink tea first, drink beverage first, things like that. But if you take whole milk, the amount of fats in whole milk is high. It's just for the same reason. The digestion is slow. And then allow some time before you sleep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I was just trying to type a little summary of some of the things that we've discussed so far. I think I've gained a lot. I was writing. I don't know how many of us wrote down anything, because this year we have to be a bit more intentional intentional about our goal setting. So whatever you want to do, make sure you're doing it for a purpose, and try and look at the reason why you're doing it. Is there a benefit? Is there a spiritual benefit? Is it a career benefit? Is it a health benefit I'm deriving from this? So I think it's very important that we are aware, and we're not just doing things because somebody said, oh, do it, but you want to know what you're going to derive at the end of the day. So there were some things that have been said already about the benefits. I was trying to type that out, about the fact that you can actually lose weight. It's amazing. Dr. Gold said she was able to lose about 11 kg over what duration? Over what duration was that? 2 months. Over 2 months. So you can see that that's a realistic kind of weight loss. There was someone who told me that she went on a keto diet and that she lost about 20 kg or more. But do you know that once she stopped keto, she gained all the weight back? So I agree once again with Bimbo Dixon. She said that lifestyle changes are more sustainable. Yes, if you go on diets, there are many fad diets now. They could work initially, but they're not sustainable. And anything that is not sustainable will eventually fail. So, but if you sustain a lifestyle change, incorporate something that is healthy and beneficial into your lifestyle, at the end of the day, you're going to reap the benefit. So weight loss is part of it, improved insulin sensitivity so that you can reduce your chances of becoming pre-diabetic or diabetic. You can control your blood sugar better. It's been found to help people who have slow metabolism. You can actually pick up your metabolism, when you practice it the way you should. But if you stay starved for a very long period, then that will not work, and you will not derive that benefit. Then, of course, we have mental clarity, we have health benefits, spiritual benefits, when we fast. So I was just trying to do a little summary because we're about going now. Remember to stay hydrated. Remember that you should be busy, you should be active. Don't forget the other aspects of your lifestyle like exercise, spending time in nature, mindfulness, meditation, eating mindfully, not rushing over your food. You're in front of the TV and you just pop in everything within 5 minutes, and you're even trying to remember, have I eaten? Did I eat? Oh, maybe I didn't eat, and you go and take another 7. But when you eat mindfully during the time of your fast, it helps you to enjoy that meal. It helps you to absorb the flavor and all the good things in the meals so that you get satisfied and you don't feel like taking another helping. So studies have shown that can actually help contribute to weight loss and regulation. And I'm sure that some of us have also heard a little bit about the fact that we don't want you to blend your fruits all the time. There was a time that smoothies were bad. Everybody was just about smoothies. So we want you to take your fruit whole, as possible. However, if you are doing a meal replacement, you are trying to replace a meal because you want to lose some weight, maybe your night meal, you can actually have a blend of some fruit, but don't take more than 200 to 250 meals at a time. Because by the time you are taking more than that, it's going to be counterproductive. So these are some of the thoughts that we're leaving with you tonight. I really want to thank everyone for being here. Please, let's show some appreciation for Mrs. Kolade, Dr. Gold, and Dr. Dami for sharing their thoughts with us, for sharing, their personal experiences with us, because I know that it's going to help you to also make a lifestyle change this month or this year. I'm going to share something in the chat box for us. So if you want to be part of an intermittent fast, I'm going to share a link for you so that you can have some guidance, some supervision. So we're going to share our Telegram link with you right here. And then also, if you want to be part of a challenge in which you will avoid eating after 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. as we agree, I'm going to share that for us right now as well, so that you can join the Zoom. You can join, sorry, not the Zoom session now, but to join the WhatsApp group. I'm still on the call, please. I'm still on the call. Okay. So I'm sharing this. Sorry, I was getting some noise in my background. So that was why I was saying that. So I've shared the WhatsApp chat so that those of us that want to join this group challenge, from time to time we have challenges, about our health. So, and you will get more information on this group chat about intermittent fasting as well, in case you want to be part of that. And of course, you'll get supervision from people who have done it the proper way. So thank you once again for being here. I'm Dr. Uri, and I can see Dr. Kenny is here. Dr. Kenny is my husband. Thank you for being here and for supporting me. Thanks to our panelists for today, Dr. Dami, Dr. Golds, and Mrs. Kolade. Thank you, Bimbo Oki, all the way from Canada. Thank you for joining us. Dotun Ajelabi, I know you're joining us all the way from the US. Thank you. Agatha, Andrew, Dr. Asmao, thank you for joining us. Azizat, Dr. Iwande, Dr. Ife, Dr. Neka, Dr. Diana, Dr. Asimege, Essay Fash. Is that Dr. Fash? Then Hannah Adeyeye, Dr. Adebite, that's Iriti Adebite. Lekon, that's my colleague too, and also an LCI associate, Dr. Olaleye. Thank you for being here. Dr. Mojonyola, Mrs. Olumuyiwa Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Oluwaseun Olushola, thank you for being here. That's Dr. Olushola, I think. Dr. Shonibare, Mrs. Olajumoke Olufidipe. Then Onifade, Austin, Rachel, Adeshola, Mrs. Adeshola, thank you for being here. Rosemary, my old classmate and friend. Titi Lokwe Musa, thank you for being here. Mrs. Toyin Kodri, thank you. Wilfred, oh, Dr. Wilfred, you're there. I didn't realize. Thank you for joining us. Mrs. Grace is saying, thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone. This is our first interaction this year for LCI. So you can still join us on our group challenge platform. You can also join us on our Telegram platform so that you can be aware of other programs as they come up. Let me just quickly share the Telegram platform for you to join. If you know there's anyone who will benefit from being part of LCI or following us, please do share the link with them because we're going to be having fantastic sessions this year. So I just added the WhatsApp chat group, and this is the Telegram chat group for Lifestyle Champions so that you can know what we are doing during the course of the year and you can invite others. So thank you so much, everyone. You can unmute so that we can say our final goodbyes.
Thank you to all the panelists. It's so amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
It was very informative.
Awesome. I'm glad you found it informative.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Gold. Nice to hear you again.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ma.
So we'll share the link to the recorded link so that anyone who has missed some parts can still go back and watch or listen. Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Dami and Dr. Golds. So we'll see you again. Okay.
Bye.
Bye for now, everyone.
Bye. I'm pleased to meet you. All right. Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.